What's up, YouTube? Mr. Lemon here, and today I want to talk about the Project Diablo 2 Blade Assassin. Now, the Blade Assassin is a very strong, probably one of the strongest builds currently in Project Diablo 2, which is really fun because, of course, Blade Assassin is not very good in Diablo 2 Resurrected. I mean, she's like okay at best, so she's a lot better here. The way that she functions is you have Blade Sentinel, Blade Fury, and Blade Shield, of course, all synergized as well. So you're maxing these three. You are maxing your Claw and Dagger Mastery. This is assuming you're not using one shift, but if you're using Claws or Daggers, you're maxing this. If you're using 2 Claws, you can put the rest into Weapon Block, really. If you're just using 1 Claw, you can go into Shadow Warrior, or you could go more into Burst of Speed. And of course, you do want 1 point in Dragonflight just for the quick telly around. So you can kind of decide with your final points if you're going like more here, 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 whatever it is. Again, this will depend on what your gear is. Now, why is she so solid? Well, she has Blade Sentinel, obviously, which moves at a pretty good speed and has really nice damage. But she also has Blade Fury, which you can see will actually ricochet off and split. So when you go and launch these into the middle of groups, you just get splits all over the place. And of course, as you get into more and more dense maps, they are going to just be bouncing and ricocheting everywhere, which is really nice. So this is kind of more of your map clearer, your Blade Fury, and then I've been finding Blade Sentinel I like a lot more on bosses because it just goes back and forth over and over on them, and you can kind of mix and match how you're using both of those. I'll do a little bit more running around and killing afterwards. So this is SSF that I've been playing, so I don't have the perfect gear, but I do have some pretty decent gear that is worth discussing. I actually have my declone gear on really fast. Let me do a small swap of that, and 1 second. That. Okay, perfect. So let me talk about my gear and some gear options for this character. Also, I guess just stats is enough for gear for strength and dex, the rest into vitality. Pretty standard. So gear-wise, here is what I'm currently running. I am running a weapon and a shield, mostly because I found this weapon and then I slammed it and then I puzzle pieced it and it just kind of had some really nice stuff. So it's 537 ED with Fool's Mod on it and 20% Deadly Strike. That's just a really sweet combination. So you're getting tons of damage. This is, you want in your main hand something high damage because this is where a lot of your Blade Fury damage is coming from. And I just socketed some ED jewels with added damage on them. Other options, you could use something like this, right? This is going to have some nice Deadly Strike on it. So I've got 26% Deadly Strike. It's got the 2 sockets. I could put some ED jewels in this. Blade Fury does not use the durability of an item, so this wouldn't actually affect that in any way. I was using Bartuk's as well prior to that, just some nice plus to skills, and again, decent damage. There's some sockets on this one. I could have socketed some ED in here, and hey, this would be a decent weapon as well. So while you are going along. I also was using this. I really liked Whispering Mirage because it gave the 2 to assassin skills. Again, nice enhanced damage, minus enemy physical resistance, which is nice. And then additionally, I can summon an additional shadow. So this was kind of helpful to get another shadow going along, just to have more warriors, which was fun. And then lastly, just using the Natalia's Claws was a nice, Natty's full set was really nice as well. Because when you have the full set going, it's actually pretty nice. You get another additional shadow. You get +3 to assassin skills. You get resistances. You get PDR. You get all sorts of really nice things. So I just had this full set. And this is probably the starter thing that you want to rock first, is just going up against, or going out and getting like Nat set. It's really easy, and it just has very high or very decent damage, additional shadows, good res, right? All of the pieces that you kind of want. So yeah, this was kind of where I was starting and shifting and adjusting as I went on. Right there with kind of the weapon piece. So I'm also using this because I'm using Fortitude. So again, just high enhanced damage and then resistances from this, which is really nice. And Phoenix, which Phoenix gives redemption, which has been nerfed some, but is still not bad. But of course, it also has really high enhanced damage. Now, you're not getting really the resistances here, so you have to make up your res elsewhere. But between this and this, I've got a lot of enhanced damage now to go along with this, which is just super helpful. For my helm, I'm currently using just this circlet, 2 to assassin, some bonus AR, fast run walk, dex, and resistances. So this helps cover some of the res deficit that I have. But Veil of Steel is the ultimate of what you do want in your helm slot. So that's kind of like where I'm aiming eventually to get, but I don't have a Veil of Steel yet. This is what I have, so this is what I'm using. High Lords is going to probably be your best in slot right here, again, just for that Deadly Strike. You don't really need the IAS. It does help your Blade Sentinel a tiny bit, but 1 to all skills and Deadly Strike and Lightning Res, just, that's super nice. The DS is really, really the key piece. Other armors, again, we talked about Natalia's. I was using Treachery early on. I was using Hustle at one point. So you can kind of use those along the way up. Some people use Enigma for this build as well. Some people use, let me see what, I want to look at the other ones. Fortitude is probably the most used. Yeah, Fortitude is your most used. Tyrael's Might gets used as well if you have that. But you're kind of just going really for, again, big ED. For gloves, I have Drax on. The main reason I have them on is, one, I rolled 32 ED on them, which is really nice. 2, they have big strength, which is helpful just to like use Fort and the Phoenix. And 3, there is 6 life after each kill, and that's really the main reason a lot of people use Drax, is because they have the life after each kill. Yes, it's a low roll of it. I have some 10s elsewhere, but I like the 32 enhanced damage as well. So you see these sometimes. More often you see Soul Drainers because they have dual leech, which is really nice actually. Dual leech is going to give you on your Blade Fury. Your Blade Sentinel doesn't leech, which your Blade Fury does. And they also have -% to enemy physical resistance, which is just really strong. So being able to do that makes these kind of your best in slot. So this is generally what people are using. And at this point, I'd probably be okay switching over. I just need to figure out my strength situation. Oh, wait, do I actually have enough strength? Oh, cool. When did I get enough strength? Who knows? All right, so we're good. Oh, it's because the COA. That's right. So now I can swap over to the Soul Trainers. That is really your main one. The other gloves you sometimes do see are going to be Steel Rends, but these again are going to be a higher strength, so you need to be able to get up to 185 strength. But you can get, of course, high enhanced damage on these gloves, which can be really nice. So that is kind of one of the other options right there. Again, some way you can get the ED, or if you can roll some DS on some gloves, whatever, that can be super nice. For my belt, I'm using Dungo's. I feel like Dungo's is kind of the best in slot belt for this character. Just vitality and physical damage reduction, and it's got nice defense. So just those 3 things make it solid. Additionally, String of Ears is also great, and you get the lifesteal. So if you don't have any good lifesteal elsewhere, String of Ears can be a little bit better potentially for that. Those are probably the 2 belts you're really going for. I would say Arachnid Mesh is kind of the final one because you get 1 to all skills, and that does improve your Blade Fury a little bit. My boots, I'm using Gore Riders. Again, this is going to be kind of your best in slot that you're going to be using. So the Deadly Strike on it is just super nice. That's kind of its main purpose. Again, yes, some faster run walk and open wounds, whatever, but really Deadly Strike on this build is very just potent. And it just is like such a big key. So you really want to be getting that as close to 75% as you can. So Gore Riders is kind of there. For the rings, one ring Raven, just to get the cannot be frozen. Also some attack rating and dexterity, which is nice. And the other ring, I just have this currently. This is just kind of a stats ring, again, that I was using to be able to use my gear. But I will, and some res, but I will be shifting this ring out and probably putting a wisp here, because you get hard the Wifferine with the wisp, which then is going to increase your damage. I want to say by like 35%. It's like 35% damage and 35% attack rating or something. So it's a pretty nice summon to have along. So Wisp also gives +1 skills. That would kind of be good there as well. Otherwise, there's lots of rare rings that you can get, again, to fill in your resistance needs, to help out with some stats, to, you know, do whatever it is that you need for all of those pieces. So that's kind of there. I also have another Raven that if I needed more decks, I could have used. You know, this one was also kind of stats and res that I was using before. It's kind of variable pieces. Now, one other thing I do want to talk about is the Reaper's Toll. This is also right around that like best in slot sort of thing. A lot of people use Reaper's Toll. Now, obviously, this didn't get a very good corruption. It got -9 enemy poison res, so it's kind of whatever. But if you can slam a Reaper's Toll with 6 sockets or 4 sockets, if you get an Eth Reaper's Toll and you can Zod it and put some other ED jewels in it and things like that, this can be extremely good. And even without all that, this can also be good. Oh, sorry, 5 sockets is max, not 6. 5 sockets. But either way, if you can get like this is really, really nice for the main reason of it has 33% chance to cast level 31 amp damage on striking. And when you use Blade Shield, that procs your on strike constantly, right? So Blade Shield literally says increases attack rate by 1 frame every 2 base levels and deals damage every 0.4 seconds. So every 0.4 seconds, you're getting to deal damage from this to every mob around you that it's hitting. And so basically, whenever you dive in, you're like guaranteeing that you're going to be getting this amp damage proc off, which is why a lot of characters also has 33% deadly strike, which is massive, right? And just some nice damage. So you can see, yeah, if you go and put a few extra, you get some sockets, right, on this, or you get it ethereal in sockets and put some ED and Zod, whatever, within it, it's going to be massive. And I can see how it would be best in slot right there. So a lot of assassins are just running this as a two-hander. And then again, you just kind of have to figure out your resistances and stuff a little bit elsewhere, which if you get like Veil of Steel, that's got nice res on it and stuff. So there are, you know, those ways. Other options of things you could use like Kira's for a bit to try and get Cannot Be Frozen and some of that. One thing that I've been liking is I corrupted Cannot Be Frozen on this COA. And so I can use this, and this can get me nice PDR and all res right there as well whenever I kind of want to use this. However, it is 174 strength, so I have to like make some strength adjustments elsewhere to use it. But that's pretty solid. I'm currently doing this with my Mercenary, where I have Reaper's Toll right here, and then I have Innocence, which grants Blade Shield to my Mercenary, which again then will proc whenever I dive in on the mob. So this is kind of a nice like combo right here that I've given to him, and then he gets that and String, Alders, Laying of Hands, really just kind of a variety of things. So, you know, you can always just mess around, right, and figure out what you want for your Mercenary. The Mercenaries that you're going to be looking at are generally going to be a Blessed Aim Act 2 Mercenary has Deadly Strike. So Blessed Aim gives Deadly Strike, thus you would get more Deadly Strike from that. Defiance from an Act 2 Mercenary is going to give you some extra physical damage reduction %, which is what I'm using right now because I needed a little more survivability. And the Might Aura Mercenary from Act 5 can be really nice, just for might, for the added damage of that. So those are kind of the 3 mercenaries I would say most people are looking at. An Act 4 mercenary also can cast amp damage, so you could say like maybe they're a little more. But again, you're generally going to be trying to cast it with like Reaper's Toll, either from you or Merc, whatever it is. So that one's like not as much, but something along the way that you could be looking at. So let's go to like the Flare Jungle, I guess, really fast. Then I have just CTA and Lidless on my off. Get out this. And you'll note that I like using Shadow Warrior because Shadow Warrior is quite solid in that she's not going to be casting just like random things. She only casts what's on your left click and right click. So you can actually, if you want, set your, set like this click to Blade Sentinel. So then she will be using Blade Sentinel and stuff. But this is a pretty quick build. You just kind of run around, dive on top of whatever you want, dive on top of. Your DPS can just get really high up here. I will go over to Charms in a second as well. And then, like I said, you kind of fury around and everything ricochets and bounces and kills all sorts of stuff. It's a very strong, decently fun build for sure, with just lots and lots of bouncing. And that's kind of the main pieces right there of it, right? Nice and simple. Obviously this isn't like the hardest content, but it's also again decent for bosses because you can just set up Blade Sentinel to just go back and forth very quickly. For charms, Assassin Torch and an Annie's, just get the best of those that you can. You want to fill up with trap GCs if possible. I've only found 3 trap GCs. I'm SSF again, so that's solo self-found. That means I've done 0 trading. So everything that you see is what I have found. Thus, I don't have a full inventory of trappers. But generally, you're going to run 9 trap GCs, and then your Torch and Annie on the 10th. And then for your small charms, you can run... I'd say you're probably going to be running like resistance small charms would be the main thing. If you want, you can try and run some like 3 1914s and things like that just to get a little bit more damage in life. But generally, I'd say you're probably going to mix in some like, 4 all res, 11 light res, 5 all res small charms. Just kind of whatever you can find along the way so that your resistances can end up maxed or close to max for all of that. So this is the Blade Assassin right here. She does honestly really well. I've been very impressed with her. She was pretty strong playing through the game early on, especially. She got a little bit tougher in like the middle game, but then I got like a little bit of better gear on her and she picked up immediately. And then she's just kind of been cruising since then. So yeah, like I was saying, Reaper's Toll in the main hand is a very common way to play this build. The only reason I'm not doing it is because I found this super sweet fanged knife and then slammed ED on it and was like, how can I not make a build around this weapon? Even if Reaper's Toll is slightly better in hand, it's just too cool when you get really interesting gear like this, rares like this, where you're like, I have to do it. So yeah, the Reapers is very strong though. But yeah, early nats and things like this can be helpful, and then you can just kind of craft some amulets and stuff till you get High Lords. Just kind of figure out different things and play around with it. Look around, get some high damage stuff going, and then go from there. So that has been the BLADESIN Assassin. She is, like I said, very strong, very fun. One of the best characters this season. It's been a great time. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Post them below. I'll try and answer. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, YouTube.